Kornacki analysis. Steve Kornacki with the khaki.
Welcome back. If it's Tuesday, voters are voting in Colorado. Two of those races could have major implications for the power of progressives in the Democratic Party after establishment Democrats were put on their heels last week in New York's primaries. Democrats are also eyeing Colorado as an opportunity to flip a competitive House seat in the fall. And both parties have candidates fighting it out for a chance to replace the term-limited Governor Jared Polis. Joining me now is NBC News Chief Data Analyst Steve Kornacki, and also with me, Kyle Clark, who's an anchor and political reporter for our Denver affiliate, KUSA. Steve, let's start with you and where things stand in these races. Progressives really hoping to make inroads. In fact, Congresswoman DeGette's district and the Senate primary in particular, what do they need to do to be successful?
Yeah, let's start in that first congressional district there. I think everyone acknowledges that the longtime incumbent here, Diana DeGette, at the very least, is in some serious jeopardy today in this primary. Her main challenger here, coming from the far left, Maylot Quiros, endorsed backed by the Democratic Socialists of America, running to the left of DeGette, really stressing Israel, criticisms of attacks on Israel, sort of core to her campaign. That is a model that we just saw some insurgent Democratic candidates successfully use in New York congressional districts last week. We've seen it in some other districts around the country. And just demographically, if you're looking at this first district in Colorado, what you're looking at here basically is Denver. It's not all of Denver, but it's a big part of Denver here. That's the core of the district. And I think demographically, you got a lot of, young, college-educated renters, politically progressive types. That's sort of been the mix that has worked for that style of politics elsewhere in the country. So it's another test for it tonight, but certainly on paper, this is the kind of race that if you're DeGette, first elected back in 1996, you're probably sweating a lot in these final hours heading into the vote tabulation. Where there is more suspense, I think, here, just in terms of whether it's going to be competitive, would be this Senate primary. John Hickenlooper, originally elected to the Senate back in 2020, being challenged by a state legislator here, Julie Gonzalez, again, ideologically running a similar campaign here. But the question is not the city of Denver and some other progressive pockets throughout the state, but whether this expands across the entire state here. Obviously, Colorado, we don't have a lot of sort of statewide primaries to measure a candidate like this against, but you do know back in 2020, Bernie Sanders did win a relatively crowded Democratic presidential primary in Colorado. Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, probably the two most leftward candidates back in that primary, got a combined 55% of the vote. Hickenlooper, by the way, in 2020, he was opposed on the left in his primary bid. He got 59% in that primary, won all but one county here. So this is a sort of a mystery. There's only been one poll. We're not even sure what to make of that poll. So this is the question. Will this one get close tonight?
Yeah, and then we also have Colorado's 8th district. That could be a battleground this fall. What are you watching for tonight?
Yeah, so, take a look here. Democratic matchup. We know the Republican is Gabe Evans. He was elected in a very close race back in 2024, and we know it's going to be closely watched this November because, look, this is a district that Donald Trump carried by 2 points in 2024. It's a district that Joe Biden carried by 5 points back in 2020. It is a swing district. You're looking here at the Democratic primary. Most of the suspense here is whether it's a Rutanel or Shannon Byrd here, a state representative, a former state representative. These are the two leading candidates here. And the backdrop, again, not just a super competitive district, a swing district in November. This is also a district with a very large Hispanic population, a lot of population growth in this part of Colorado. You're talking about Adams County into Weld County, city of Greeley, Colorado, Commerce City. A lot of population growth, a lot of Hispanic population growth. It's a population.
Y'all are fucking annoying with this cum spam, bro. Enough. Check out early numbers. The youth are coming out. Reporter Kyle Clark is pointing to an unusually high turnout in Colorado's 1st Congressional District, Denver, where progressive challenger Maylot Quiros is running against longtime incumbent Diana DeGette. 121 ballots had already been cast by 1:55 p.m. on Election Day. That's represented 26.3% of turnout, with several hours of voting still remaining. By early afternoon, turnout had already exceeded the final turnout from the 2024 primary. Only about 25,000 more ballots were needed to match the record 2018 primary turnout of roughly 146,000 voters. Clark says, here come the youths. Colorado is surging. It's 140,000 now. This is old. Fuck, man. That shit torques me up, dude. That shit amps me up. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you. Looking good.
That Donald Trump made a lot of inroads with in 2024. One of the reasons he was able to narrowly carry this district. So again, it's going to be close this November, and we'll watch this race particularly to see about those Hispanic inroads the president made in 24, whether they're holding up or receding in 26.
Okay, great, Steve. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Let's turn now to Kyle Clark. Kyle, you've been covering these races for months, and maybe level set for us. Are Colorado Democrats ready for the same type of progressive push that we saw in New York last week?
Denver Democrats are, Ryan, for sure. I think Colorado is a different story. And the thing you have to remember when you look at Denver versus New York City is New York has closed primaries. Colorado has semi-open primaries in which unaffiliated voters, no party, that is the majority of voters in the state, can participate. So that can have an interesting impact on primaries out here. But certainly 29-year incumbent progressive Democrat Diana DeGette is in real trouble against a 29-year-old Democratic Socialist challenger in Milot Quiros, who appears to have caught DeGette napping, nearly kept her off the ballot at the caucuses, and DeGette has been begging for national resources to come in and save her, and Quiros has all the momentum.
Is it about...
It is pretty crazy that the party basically was like, you're on your own. I think part of that is because it's a revenge for the Congressional Black Caucus snub, which is pretty funny because it's like, I'm not going to say it's not valid that we needed new blood. You know what I mean? And I think it's partially because Jeffries gave up because he was like, I'm not putting more weight and resources into another bygone race. But I think it was partially because of it's partially because of that and partially because of the CBC drama, which is crazy because in all of her 30 years, the one time where she was like kind of right, she's getting punished for it. What was the drama? It was over Clyburn, right? Yeah, she wanted to be the whip. Yeah. Diana DeGette drops out of whip race, clears way for Clyburn, but initially, Colorado Rep. Diana DeGette has dropped out of the race for majority whip, leaving South Carolina Clyburn. Jim Clyburn running unopposed to retain his number 3 position in the Democratic leadership. Yeah, it was literally the exact same thing that is the same galvanizing force behind Milot Quiros is ironically the anger and resentment people feel towards seniority politics, which is literally what Diana DeGette was complaining about. Explain CBC, please. Congressional Black Caucus. Diana DeGette wanted to be majority whip instead of Clyburn. And Clyburn did not appreciate that at all and basically put the full weight of the Congressional Black Caucus behind this decision. And they straight up, yeah, see, here it is. Made a run for whip after 2018 midterms, but pissed off the CBC, which wanted and got Clyburn back. If you're a reliable progressive vote, but your voters never see you on their For You page, watch your back. Yeah. Drew Savicki says, this is the most media coverage Diana DeGette has ever received, and she's been in office nearly 30 years. Now you understand why she's on the ropes. 30 years and completely anonymous. She's only the number 2 House Dem on energy and commerce. She was the number 3 last Congress until Anna Eshoo retired. The committee bottleneck is insane. A 15-term congresswoman has no hope of being a ranking member or chairing a committee. What is this? I'm a Hassan Piker Democrat. What is this? Are you guys making is this the new meta? Okay, I like it. I'm a Hassan Piker Democrat. Hell yeah. Dude, you're going to be in heaven eating that birria as the vote count comes in. That's what I'm looking forward to, my man. Go eat something. I know you're hungry. Man, what are you guys talking about right now? I already ordered. Yeah, this is a aura moment for sure. That was definitely a aura moment. This is kind of an aura moment too. Where you order from? I need a new taco place in Denver, Colorado. If you don't know about this place, it's too late for you, little bro. Dog, it's birria. Birria, not burria. I don't fucking know. Burria. Burrito. I wasn't a fan of the soccer jersey art, but I miss it now. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Yep. I'm a cutie Cinderella fascist. Jesus Christ. Federalist CEO with a demented list of demands that the Supreme Court protected birthright citizenship.
J.D. Vance just said in an interview that he thinks you are going to be the leading Democratic candidate for president in 2028. What's your response to that?
I mean,
That's crazy. That's crazy. Why are you cheesing like that? That's crazy. That's actually crazy. You might as well say, yeah, I am. That's crazy, AOC. That is wild. That is what what do you? That's all but a confirmation. That's more than a confirmation. I'd trust her word less if she said yes rather than smile like this.
You know, I hope he is. That's what I'll say.
So he's a Republican nominee?
Damn. She walked away too.
Avalanche of results.
All right,
very
15
quickly
minutes
could bring
remaining.
clarity
15
to
minutes
races
warning
that
until
I know if you're
polls
watching
close
this,
in Denver,
you know the basic
Colorado.
setup. You have a lot of anticipation around, for instance, this race, the 1st Congressional District. Longtime Democratic Congresswoman Diana DeGette being challenged by Belat Quiros, Democratic Socialists of America backed candidate. This is a question here about that energy that fueled DSA-aligned candidates in New York City last week. Is it going to also
I'm
be
going to perish
apparent
before we
in
even get the
Denver?
first
Also at the
dump.
top of the hour, we're going to start to get numbers from
You
this
got a
race.
hype
Don't know
train?
what
We
to
can't
make
do a
of this
double
one.
carry, dude.
This could be a blowout. John Hickenlooper, former governor, current senator, running for re-election. He could win this thing easily. Or if that energy there, again, that same sort of far
Bro,
left
we're
energy
looking at
that we're
this
talking
Julie
about maybe
Gonzalez
being
one
there
too.
for Quiros in
I
the
wish
first
she,
district that
I
we've
wish
seen in
she
some other
hugged the
primaries
Mayock
around the
campaign a
country.
little bit
Is
harder.
they're statewide in Colorado. That's what Gonzalez has been trying to tap into. Also, very competitive congressional race in the 8th district. This is a Democratic primary. The winner here,
50% of the votes will be dumped within minutes, and we'll have a pretty decent estimation on where.
Congressional districts this fall. This is a district that Trump won in 24 after
Bruh.
losing it in 2020. Large Hispanic population. Trump had made gains with them. And of course, we're looking at the governor's race too.
I'm gonna
Here's
deflate like All Might.
incumbent
Yeah.
Senator Michael Bennett trying to become the
Michael
governor, running against the
Bennett.
state attorney general Phil Weiser. and
Another
running
sex
to Bennett's
god.
left. And also trying to tap into that frustration we see in polling. The Democratic voters say they have with their
Michael
party's leadership
Bennett.
in Washington. He's been trying to say that Bennett
Michael
is too much of
Bennett,
a
he's gonna
Washington
show you
figure. So
up.
some of the headline races there. Again, polls closing at the top of the hour. And just a few feet from me, when they do, helping me crunch down all of the numbers, my ace producer,
Bro, if
Adam Navarro.
Mayock wins the early vote and they project it before I get there, I'm going to be so pissed because I'm waiting on this goddamn birria tacos. It's crazy.
I'm excited to dig into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think everybody acknowledges going in, that would include very much DeGette's campaign and her supporters, that she's in real potential trouble here. This is a very close race. There have been some numbers there. And again, just fascinating, again, to see that
I know
dynamic.
you like
We were
the
here
number.
a week ago looking at New York City, and this district, 1st district here, this is basically the city of Denver. It's not all of it, but it's a lot of it. That's basically what this district is. And demographically, you think of what we saw in New York City last week,
Bro, it's
where those socialist
beer.
candidates had success, places where you had young voters, where you had renters, where you had college-educated young voters, very politically engaged and progressive. You got a lot of that in this 1st congressional district. It's overwhelmingly Democratic. It's the core of Denver. So it worked in New York City. We saw it work at that DSA socialist movement, worked in Philadelphia,
Remember, it's
Washington, D.C.
35% off,
mayoral
5
primary. Is it going to
gift
happen in
subs.
Denver?
4
That's
minutes
the
remaining.
question.
Level
And
2
like
hype
we
train.
said, statewide in the Senate race, we call that one up here. We just don't know what to make of it. Julie Gonzalez was part of the Democratic Socialists of America. She let her membership lapse before this campaign, but has not tried to distance herself from it in a meaningful way. So I think this very much is a similar type of challenge here. We're going to see what the readout is statewide. I want to give you a sense of what to expect because looking at the clock, it's 8:48. It's blank right now. 64 counties are blank. But when 9 o'clock hits, we've had a few states like this. You know,
Herpetic
Colorado
Whitlow.
is basically a mail-in voting
Level
state.
3 hype train complete.
And they've had
Thank you for
ballots come in
25
for a
gifted.
long time. And in these states, what they do is
Jinxie, thank you for
they
the
can take the
5.
ballots that have been coming in for
Don't
the last
drink.
week, the last days,
Pong
often
Vanation,
right
thank
up
you for the
until
5.
today, get them ready, get them processed, get them tabulated, and they just report them out right after polls close, right at 9 o'clock. So I'll give you one example here. In 2024, Denver was the first. Denver County, I'm going to pull it up right here. City of Denver, Denver County, they're coterminous. So if I'm saying Denver City, it is Denver County. Okay, it's just the city of Denver here. They were the first. They were the first to report in 2024. They did it at 9:11 p.m., and they reported out 70% of their vote, 10 minutes after polls closed. And again, what did we just say? That 1st congressional district
Big dumps. Big and fast
is Denver.
dumps.
So we may get the vast majority of the vote in that hotly contested 1st congressional district race
Please pump
a few
this.
minutes after 9 o'clock.
Derby,
so we may
derby.
get we may get
Larry Rhoda needs a cowboy up and debate Toby Derby
there, one way or the other in that race. And of course, other counties, other big counties, it's the same thing. 50% of the vote or more. You get in a batch there. We expect a 90-minute rush, a 90-minute avalanche, I would say, where about 3/4, maybe more, of the vote statewide will come in between 9 and 10:30 Eastern. Then it slows down. It really, really tends to slow down. So this is sort of a thing where you're going to get a lot coming at you a few minutes from now. We'll make as much sense of it as we can, maybe enough to call some of these races, maybe enough to call all these races. We may get about 90 minutes in.
He's
delirious. Suddenly that tabulation
Mantis
slows.
Morburn,
and we may not have clarity in any of them. That's always a possibility.
I am a little bit delirious.
There are some other dynamics within that we can talk about, but I just want to get you ready.
W hunger. I got the
again,
W
just
hunger
a few
chat.
minutes from now, those polls are going to close, and this thing's going to
Chat,
start
I'm feeling W hunger.
lighting up like a Christmas
tree. Are you feeling
tree.
it?
But we do have a few minutes. I want to also give you an announcement of what's going to happen when we're done. There it is. Look at this. We did this last week. They had so much fun with it. They wanted to do it again tonight after the results are in. Stick around because I'm going to answer questions from NBC News subscribers.
I'm feeling nervous.
So if you've got a question for me, scan the QR code.
Oh my
There
God,
it
we
is.
can ask
And I'm going to pause
Steve
for a second,
Kornacki questions.
because I know you got to get the phone out. You got to,
This is my fucking
it's gonna
dream.
take a second. So I'm going to leave it up on the screen there. But scan
You sound like
that
you're on
QR code.
0.75 speed.
If you're unable
Okay,
to do
well.
that, you could go to NBCnews.com. You can go to our NBC News app. And what you do there is you subscribe. Just become one of the subscribers.
Of course I'm a subscriber
Love you
to
for
Steve
it. You can
Kornacki,
submit a
the
question
khaki
then,
man.
and I'm going to answer a few of them
The khaki
tonight
man.
right here on this live stream as soon as we get all those results that we are talking about. Again,
Khaki
it's gonna come
man,
up
khaki
right
when.
after tonight. So get that QR code scanned, get the questions ready. And I think tonight, what's about to happen could raise some more questions.
Speaking
so
of
maybe just watching
subscribers,
this
you
tonight,
might not
you're
be a
gonna
subscriber to NBC
get some
News,
more
but you can
questions
subscribe to
coming mind. But again,
Hasanabi.
we are 8 minutes to poll
Happening now,
close.
level 6 hype train at level 10.
And let me just set up
carry
one
the
other
flame
dynamic
twice in
that
one
we're gonna
row,
be
in
looking
one
at.
day,
I'll,
twice.
talk about this a million times between now and whenever we finish up. But in these Democratic primaries,
Don't miss the vibe.
We
Deep.
saw this in
I'm
New York last week.
literally
We've seen this in
fucking-
some of the others.
I have to eat. I haven't eaten
These,
yet. I'm waiting for my
DSA
food.
type
I'll be there
candidates
soon.
Tend to do better with the late counted ballots. This is especially true in states with large sort of mail-in voting like you have here in Colorado. Think about that.
Did you guys like my
that
Carry the
LA
Flame
mayor's
drop
race,
on Fox
where
News, by the way?
What it was the late counted ballots. They were the last ones to come in, and they tended disproportionately to come from younger, politically progressive voters. Right, and in the LA mayor's race, you remember that slow count of the late arriving ballots.
God, where the fuck's
moved
this
Spencer
food, bro?
Pratt
Where
out of
is this
second place, put
food,
Nithya Raman into the second place, into that runoff. And so we've seen that dynamic, in other states and other places. And I think we
she
kind
might
of
have been the
expect
local
some
Fox.
version of
That
that
makes
here
sense.
tonight.
That's why she was so
something
kind.
to keep in mind when we get these initial numbers. Again, could be 50% of the vote, 75% of the vote in some of these counties, especially like Denver County, city of Denver. That's probably going to be the best number for a candidate like Hickenlooper, right? It's probably going to be the first number that comes out is probably going to be the best number that DeGette gets all night.
Best number.
And then it's going to get better from there for the progressive candidates. For the progressive candidate, again, I don't think it quite does justice to Quiros and the dynamic here, because DeGette, I think, by any conventional metric, is a progressive candidate. But Quiros is running. I mean, she's a far left candidate here. That's she's a socialist. But anyway, we expect her to do better in the subsequent updates. So keep that in mind. If we get that first initial batch and Quiros is leading DeGette, boy, you don't want to see that if you're DeGette. You want to see some kind of pad with that first update if you're DeGette. And again, to get Denver, means we're going to sort of be off and running in that Senate race. And again, I would expect the earliest numbers to be better for Hickenlooper than what would subsequently happen.
I wonder if like big Denver dumps, big Denver numbers by youth turnout. I hope it translates to success for Julie as well,
right here
honestly.
in the immediate Denver metro area. You're talking about Denver itself. You're talking about Arapahoe County. You're talking about Adams County. You're talking about Jefferson County. Boulder would be up here. About 70% of the vote in the statewide Democratic primary is going to come right out of here, okay? And then right up here, this is Larimer County. That's where Fort Collins is, Colorado State University. That's where they say they get 300 days of sunshine a year. That sounds pretty nice. You got Fort Collins and Larimer right here. You got Weld County right here where Greeley is. You probably got about 10% of the vote that's going to come out of those two counties. Then you can go down here, Colorado Springs. This is where El Paso County is. South of there, this would be Pueblo County, or the city of Pueblo. By the way, Pueblo County, large Hispanic population. It's the only county in Colorado that Trump flipped to him, that Trump was able to flip to his side in 2024. Had been Biden 20, Trump flipped Pueblo County with that large Hispanic population in 24. Again, probably about 10% of the vote is going to come out of these two. So 70, 80, 90% of the vote is really going to come out of this right in here. Okay, then you got the Eastern Plains. This are just small counties here, very Republican counties. The Western Slope, you have a little bit out here, Mesa County, where Grand Junction is. The other sort of vote center, if you want to call it that, in a Democratic primary is going to be sort of this collection of counties. There's about half a dozen counties, they're ski country counties, right? Telluride, Vail, Crested Butte, places like that. These are, higher income, often retirees, college educate. It's a very Democratic demographic in these ski country towns. These are places where Biden or Harris are getting 65, 70, 75% of the vote. They're small, but again, there's like a half a dozen of them. They're going to add up to probably about 5% of the vote, maybe a little bit less, 4% of the vote in the statewide Democratic primary. So that's kind of it. I mean, the political geography of this is, it's really about a 5-county region right here is more than 2/3 of the vote. And then you add, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, a little bit, and you're already up to 90. So keep that in mind as this map starts filling in, especially in a Democratic primary. Big chunks of real estate here, not much in the way of votes.
3 minutes. Y'all are being so
close.
annoying with this cum spam.
Am I missing
3 minutes,
anything?
3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes.
No,
3 minutes
I don't think
till
so.
polls close.
I mean, I
3 minutes till
expect
polls
we'll
close,
get those Denver
and then
results,
we get the dunks.
Hopefully quicker than not.
3
and I think
minutes till
we'll be
polls
able to key
close,
in on
ladies
that
and gentlemen.
first,
Get those ballots in.
first
If you're in
district.
line to vote,
and then it is
stay
those
in
statewide
line.
races, and we'll see where vote comes in from these different counties. But from what I've seen online, at least with some of the bigger counties, is they're very structured updates where each county will report at certain times. So hopefully we'll just be able to keep up with it all.
Yeah, Denver, you're saying, was every...
Do you think it's possible that someone can make things worse for a candidate via phone banking? I kind of feel like I was that might have been me today. How is that even possible? You just repeat the lines that are given to you, chatter. Come on.
Again, it's if you saw...
That's so funny.
A good comp for this kind of would be California, to be honest. If you remember primary night in California, if you were watching at 11 o'clock, they just, they come in real fast, and you get up to that 2/3, 3/4, 80%, and it slows down. Now, in Colorado, they don't have the mail coming in for days after the election, but they still have a lot of what's happening today. We were looking at 2 minutes till poll closing. We were looking like in Denver today, the last time we checked, they got 40,000 ballots that they had accounted for that came in today. That's people drop. There's a very small number of people actually go to the polls.
2 minutes,
and just
2
vote
minutes, 2 minutes,
kind
2
of the
minutes, 2
old-fashioned
minutes,
way.
2
But a
minutes,
lot
2
of it is
minutes, 2
folks
minutes.
dropping stuff off in drop boxes. They take some of that in during the day. They also do a run at poll close time. Once they bring it back, there's processing involved, and that's where it starts to drag down. And again, especially in Denver, right? Boulder's probably another example. University of Colorado is there. That's where you get those young progressive voters who we have been seeing are the ones who are putting these things in at the very last minute. And that's the stuff that ends up, taking a couple. I mean, look, we had a minute to poll closing here. I got the time here, right? In 24, we got to 90% of the vote counted statewide 2 nights after election night. 2 nights later, 48 hours after poll close, we got to 98% counted. We got to 90% counted. We got to 95 3 nights later. So here we go. In 40 seconds, the polls close. Again, the first update, I think I said it was Denver, right? In 2024, the first update we got, we may have a few minutes after polls close. In the 24 presidential election, it was 9:11 p.m., and Denver just dropped a couple 100,000 votes right away. By 9:20 p.m. in 2024, right? Polls closed 9. By 9:20, we had a quarter of all the vote counted, released, tabulated by 9:30,
Okay,
35%.
bro. Jesus Christ.
9:45, 41, 10 o'clock, half the vote in the first hour. Here we go. New Year's Eve. We need Dick Clark. 3, 2, 1. Polls are closed in Colorado.
It's over.
And now we
fought
await
hard.
which county, which city will report first. I'm going to put this up on the screen because this is the one where we have the biggest chance of instant clarity, okay? First district of Colorado.
Oh, my God.
And
Oh, my
again,
God.
what you're looking at here
right
is
now.
Denver, all right? Diana DeGette, elected back in 1996. She replaced Pat Schroeder. You know, Pat Schroeder, sort of a trailblazing figure in American politics, the feminist movement. Schroeder had been elected in 1972. She briefly ran for president in 1988.
Let's go, Maylot. Let's go, Julie.
The first primary. She was a very big figure in American politics. For those, sometimes if younger folks are tuning in, maybe they don't know the name. Older folks, when I say older, I mean like my age, probably do remember her. But it was Pat Schroeder, it was DeGette. That's the last 54 years in this district. And now DeGette being challenged by Maylot Quiros. Wanda James, the third candidate, by the way, she is the elected regent for the University of Colorado system, sort of the board that kind of looks over it. She's elected within the first congressional district. That's how they elect your region. So technically, she has won an election in this district. She is seen as sort of, we'll see what the numbers say, but the expectation is that DeGette and Quiros have kind of have separated themselves from James. But we will see. Adam, you'll shout if anything comes in that's not Denver, right?
Yep.
Again, Denver was the first, and it was 73% of Denver's vote in one batch last time around.
Okay,
so,
we got tacos from
could tell us an awful lot. And again, that was
tacos
9/11, 9/02, so we may have a couple
tacos.
Minutes here. What else can we talk about? I didn't want to give short shrift to it. I won't go over there now, but just north of here, you're looking at the 8th congressional district. The 8th congressional district is the one where Democrats are having their primary tonight. It's a former state lawmaker and a current state lawmaker. They are both from Adams County, which is super fast growing, just north of Denver. Adams County is probably going to make up 3/4 of the vote in that district. Most of the rest of it is going to come from Weld County. That's where Greeley is. This is the 8th district right here. You know, Commerce City. This is Adams County. This is right over the line from Denver. Fast growing, and then the district just goes all the way north up into up into Greeley, up into Weld County. There is a little bit of this district that's in Larimer County. None of the districts in Fort Collins. But again, this is super politically competitive turf. So tonight is about setting up a general election matchup you will be hearing a lot about between now and November. Did you see something?
Holy fuck!
Denver should be reporting shortly.
Julie Gonzalez, 48.
Yeah, it should be coming into this.
When you say those things, I feel they're very knowing and like there's a.
Yes, I see the report on their website. And so
it's over.
Folks, it's
Maylot
coming.
won.
Folks,
if Maylot's ahead, it's over.
Oh my goodness.
It's over.
This could be, what do you think it's going to be? DeGette, 30 years in office. Quiros, the socialist challenger. James, the regent. The numbers coming.
It's over.
Momentarily. Again, we think this will be the best. This is probably the best it's going to be for DeGette. Whatever number gets spit out here think of it as it's probably her high water mark. You know, with whatever vote is left, she will probably come down to some degree from whatever she gets in this first report. And with whatever votes left, we would expect, based on how these things have been going, that Quiros would probably go up to some degree from whatever this first number is. If you're DeGette, you do not want to be trailing here. You want to be leading. You want to have a pad. My goodness.
It looks to be about 70% of the vote.
It's 70% of the vote.
Yeah.
It's 70% of the vote, folks.
It just hit for the statewide races.
Okay, it's coming. Oh, here it comes. Here it comes. This is seconds away, folks. Seconds away.
My fucking tacos.
Check in with Hickenlooper. I'll let you know when it's in.
You don't think it's...
It's done. It's over. She won.
I'm going to count to 10, and then we'll go to Hickenlooper. 1.
They'll project it by
2,
the time I get there, but it's
3, 4. Oh, I want the moment here. 5, 6, 7.
It's a dub.
Okay. Is it in our system?
And it's probably
for
a W for Julie,
yes,
too.
but it's not in our system for this.
Correct.
Okay. Oh,
If Maylot's
folks,
winning on the
let's-
first dump, 70% of the vote, it's done.
Okay, that's the...
And
that's-
Julie's probably
it's-
going to win, too.
That's the first batch of vote from Denver. And there's Hickenlooper basically
Yeah.
tied with Gonzalez. By comparison,
That's 2 for 2, bitch.
Hickenlooper, when he was elected in 2020, okay, he won the primary with 59% of the vote statewide. He got 53 in Denver, right? So, I mean, bare minimum, if you're Hickenlooper using that
I
as a
can't believe
gauge.
I fucking
It's in
missing
for-
it.
It's in.
but
Here we go,
this
folks.
is
What do we
worth it.
got? Oh, my goodness.
done.
Look at this.
It's over.
That is the Denver drop. It's 2/3 of the vote, we think. That's the expected vote. Remember, that number can move a little bit. That's our expectation of how much vote is there. And the challenger, Socialist Maylot Quiros, leading 30-year incumbent Diana DeGette by 2.5 points, 2,269 votes. Again, this is the city of Denver.
It's done.
That just reported out. And again, our expectation
We done did it again, bitch.
is what you have here was the earliest
fucking
vote
tacos
to
are
come
incredible.
in. It's been coming in
I
by
mean,
mail.
it's
It's
low-key
been getting
kinda worth it
dropped
to
off
miss the
at
party,
these
or at
Dropbox,
least the
at these
moment of,
Dropbox centers that they
the
have.
moment of victory.
And the tracking information they have demographically about ballots that have been accepted has been saying that the electorate has been getting younger the closer we get to Election Day. Okay, that's why when I say an expectation that this first batch is going to be the high watermark for DeGette, it's based on that. It's based on the demographic that we think is fueling Quiros being more represented in the late counted votes than in what you're seeing right here. If that is the case, then it's curtains for DeGette. And what we now expect,
Price
and
went
Adam,
up.
check me on this, is that we will not get a Denver update for
Price
some
went
time.
up.
That's right.
Okay, so
Price went up.
take the mental picture, folks. We'll return to it.
Price went
I
up,
think sometime in
motherfucker.
the next 90 minutes,
Yep.
we get our next Denver update. And that's going to be where we get clarity in this race. Because
Bro,
that's the
this is-
question.
we got
the
the
next
clarity already.
update, we start getting ballots counted that aren't as, that are closer to, that are
I
going
think
to be
it's-
more
I
in that
think it's-
demographic
I mean, I hope
wheelhouse
I
we
didn't
think
pull
for
the trigger
Quiros.
too soon, but
So
I'm
that
pretty
becomes
sure
the
it's
question.
fucking-
That next update,
a
does she start
ripperoni.
expanding the lead? Then it confirms the
I'm going
sense
to tell
that I'm
Marsh to get
describing
over.
here. If there's a surprise and DeGette's got a chance, you'll see it in that next batch. But that's going to tell us the story. That's if you're Quiros, that's a great start for you. If you're DeGette, that is not. What does this mean for the Senate race? Okay, we showed you this a minute ago, but let's go back out.
Dude, this
Now
is
we've
the
got some more
worst.
in
You know
on the
that,
Senate
right,
race.
chatters?
Okay, Hickenlooper, we got a
These are
sixth
the
of the
worst
vote
drops.
in statewide in the Democratic Senate primary, and there's Hickenlooper with a 5-point advantage over Julie Gonzalez. Now, what I want to tell you here is the gauge we're using for how Hickenlooper's doing is when he ran in 2020, he faced a primary, a well-known candidate who ran very much to his left in that primary, okay? Gonzalez is trying to run to the left of Hickenlooper here, a progressive primary opponent for Hickenlooper in 2020. The result was Hickenlooper 59. Andrew Romanoff was the name of the candidate back then. It was 59-41 Hickenlooper, right?
It's good for Julie,
So
too, I think.
in any given county, just as a rough, a rough gauge here, there's a pad for Hickenlooper of about 9 points. Okay, if he lost 9 points from that, it'd be a 50-50 race, right? So I'm going to start going through the counties, and we're going to say what was Hickenlooper's number in 2020. Okay,
I mean,
so
it's not-
take a
it's
look
not
like
official
in
yet.
Weld County. This is a big one. We got 94% of the expected vote. Again, this is where Greeley, Colorado is here.
Did you eat your food
Hickenlooper,
yet?
59.
It's so
Gonzalez,
bomb.
40.
I'm actually
What was the
shocked,
Hickenlooper number
alarmed,
here in
disturbed at how good
2020 in
this
the
fucking
primary?
torta and the birria tacos
62.
are.
So it's down 3 for him. But remember, we say to pad, give or take. This is this is rough here, just to give you a sense. But the pad is 9, roughly. It's down 3
Dog,
here
this shit got me
in
fucked up.
Weld County. Much
Oh
bigger.
my God.
Denver, where we
Oh,
started.
Dios mío, Kike.
Again, this is the same thing we just saw in that House race. What was the Hickenlooper number here? It was
we should Uber.
53
We shouldn't take away from
in
them.
2020.
They're
it is 50 right
if they're
now.
here, then yeah.
Now, A lot more vote to come in Denver. Again, we saw at least 40,000 votes had come in today, and that update was not at poll close. So it's probably 50,000 votes that came in just today in Denver. And again, if those votes are that very progressive sort of young progressive sort, then you could calculate that Gonzalez would improve with the next update from Denver. So right now, Hickenlooper is 3 points short of where he was in 2020 in Denver. And Denver is 20% of the vote statewide, right, in the Democratic primary. This is as big as it gets. That's why we're lingering on Denver here. Hickenlooper, if you're using that 2020 thing, at an absolute bare minimum, 45 is probably as low as he could go in Denver. Okay, he's running at 50. With 2/3 to come, with 2/3 in. Okay, where else do we have here? We got Douglas County. Okay, again, this is in that Denver metro area. Part of where we say 70% of the vote going to come out of this area. Hickenlooper running at 62. What was his number in 2020? It was 64. So we've seen him down 3 from his 2020 number in Weld. We see him down 3 from his 2020 number in Denver, and we see him currently down 2 from his 2020 number in Douglas. These are not landslide numbers if you're Hickenlooper, but if you're trying to just survive, these are so far encouraging numbers if you're Hickenlooper. Teller County is tiny, just next to Colorado Springs. We got Broomfield, okay, this is just a city-county coterminus. This is the smallest little piece of the Denver metro area, but we got most of the vote here. And the number for Hickenlooper is 55.5. His 2020 number here was 56 and 92% in. So again, this is smaller as Denver Metro goes, but these are all numbers. If you're Hickenlooper, we're getting out here. We could test ski country a little bit. How about we do that? Let's go out to Steamboat Springs. This is where the Steamboat Springs Resort is. This is one of those ski country counties. Again, individually, they're not huge. Cumulatively, they probably add up to about 4% of the vote statewide. This you would think, we're talking about these are the higher income, older Democrats, okay? This you would think is Hickenlooper's wheelhouse. But he's getting 72. Key question, what was his number in 2020?
There's probably going to be Hickenlooper, Melchior's voters a lot in Denver.
In one of the ski countries. We got Vail,
and that's a consequence
we got Eagle County. This is where Vail is. We got about 2/3 of the vote. Hickenlooper,
the
69. What was his number in 2020? It was 67. So he's now running north of that number. So we got 2 ski country counties that, demographically are coming through for him.
I still think she has a shot.
The rest that's sort of on this map right now, these are all just, this is the Eastern Plains. I mean, this is the kind of thing you're going to be looking at, down here. This is a county where Trump made some sizable gains, one of his double-digit gain counties, but this is small in a Democratic primary. So zoom out, Hickenlooper with that advantage, it's double digits with a quarter of the vote in. Key, though, is that we are not seeing him in the big counties, the significant counties where we've got significant vote. You are not seeing the kind of slippage that it would take to endanger Hickenlooper in this primary. That would have to change dramatically, okay? Again, if you're Hickenlooper, a former governor, a United States senator, he briefly ran for president in 2020 against an opponent here who was a state legislator, not have the best funded campaign. These are not overwhelming numbers if you're Hickenlooper by any stretch of the imagination. But again, these are numbers. If you're Hickenlooper and you're trying to survive, so far you are seeing what you want to see. If we have Weld County, I suspect it means we've got some numbers in the 8th congressional district. Okay, so again, the backdrop here, super politically competitive terrain. Okay. Donald Trump carried this by 2 points in 2020. I'll put it up on the screen. Donald Trump carried it by 2 in 2024. In 2020, Joe Biden carried it by 5. What powered Trump to that victory? Hispanic voters. Those big gains he made with Hispanic voters nationally, that's very much the case this 8th district. It's about 40% Hispanic. It is super fast growing. Now, what we've got here is there's 3 parts to this district, okay? Adams County is right here. Okay, Greeley, this is Weld County right here where we have vote coming in. And then this is actually the same county. These 2 little slivers are
Is there a reason why we didn't vote for
County, which is where 4
I wanted her to win, but
the Larimer County portion is like 4%
limited
of the
bandwidth.
vote. So really what you got is about 3/4 of the vote is going to come out of Adams County, where we have no votes yet. Okay, and about 20% is going to come right out of here in Weld County. That's where we do have votes, although we, you know, it's 23% of the whole district, and we got nothing from Larimer. So go into Weld, and you can see Routenell there. We got most of the vote there, most of the expected vote. And Routenell's lead there is 23 points. Now, here's why that's significant. Not just the fact that that's a 23-point lead for Routenell in a pretty good chunk of real estate. This is sort of the disputed territory in the district. Both Byrd and Routenell are from the Adams County, excuse me, the Adams County portion of the district, okay? Routenell, Commerce City, Byrd, Westminster. They're from the Adams County portion of the district. This is neither one's home turf, and Routenell is up significantly with most of that vote tabulated. So Byrd would need to turn it around. You know, there's a lot of votes down there in Adams County, but they both have political bases down there. Again, Latimer, very small piece of this. Byrd, by the way, oh, pardon me, I wanted to, and again, the winner going to this super competitive general election would be against Gabe Evans. Gabe Evans was elected in a very close race in 2024. And again, this is one of those you'll just hear a ton about between now and November. If you're Routenell, that is a very encouraging start. The dynamic in this race was a little interesting here. Byrd sort of
my honest assessment.
Long-standing image in Colorado politics is sort of a centrist figure, bipartisan figure.
People who are running for Senate
Routenell,
are still worried about the
until about a year
moniker
ago,
of socialism.
had been sort of running in, occupying a progressive lane. Reversed some positions, changed his posture, changed his rhetoric as the opportunity opened in the 8th district, which is, again, super politically competitive in the general election. It's been an interesting dynamic.
We won't know
until
summer lead 2028.
But again, you're seeing in Weld County.
Ready to go?
That's a big advantage for him right there. So, again, we'll zoom back out to the Senate race here, see if we have some more, in. Again, a lot of what you're seeing, I know it looks like these look like big, significant pieces of the puzzle, but a lot of what you're seeing are very, very small counties right here. What we're interested in is anything coming out of the immediate Denver metro area. I mean, something like this is Jefferson County right here, right? This would be Adams County, which we're talking about. This would be Arapahoe County. These excuse me, are the big ones that Elber's not. El Paso County down here, where Colorado Springs, we got Pueblo. Okay, here we go. Most of the vote in Pueblo County here, and you can see Hickenlooper running at 61.5. What was his 2020 number here? It was 65. So again, the story is what we've seen elsewhere. This is slippage for Hickenlooper from where he was in 2020, but it's 3 points of slippage. Remember we said he doesn't want to see something around 9 or more, okay? Low single digits. He doesn't want to see high single digits. He can't see double digits. The worst he's seen in terms of slippage so far is low single digits. So again, that continues to be. Pueblo's a big, relatively big puzzle piece here. The news that we're seeing here in these numbers continues to be, if you're Hickenlooper and you're thinking like, you know, Al Davis used to with the Raiders, just win, baby, you're seeing what you want to see. You know, the slippage from that 2020 number is just not, so far has not been nearly pronounced
Those late-breaking votes would have to go crazy for Julius going to win. I know.
Nothing new has come in here. I just wanted to show it to you. We want to check into the Colorado governor's primary on the Democratic side. Now this is...
And not only that, but also...
Here is a United States senator who does not like...
We just got Jefferson County as well.
What he said. Okay. Look at this. Michael Bennet, United States Senator. Phil Weiser, Attorney General. Weiser had been trying to run to Bennett's left here, stressing a lot of progressive issues, but also Weiser had been trying to make an issue of Bennett's longevity in Washington, trying to attach him to a national party that we have seen in our own polling with Democratic voters is not popular at all. And look at this, the numbers that Weiser is getting. Let's just go through this right here. In Denver, wow, I mean, look at this, sort of the, you know,
oh my God,
2/3 of the vote. He's crushing Bennett
Oh
in
my
Denver.
God.
Jefferson County, Adam just mentioned, this is a giant piece. This is going to be 10%
Oh my
of the vote, 12%
fucking
of the
God.
vote
He's getting
statewide here.
pounced on.
Weiser with a double-digit lead over
Not
Bennett.
my Bennett.
Most of the vote in. Look at Douglas. These are the big
Not my
population
Michael
centers
Bennett.
here in Democratic primaries. And this is
He
where
ran for
Weiser's put up. That's only
president,
5
bro.
points here. This is the only Denver Metro County, Douglas, that actually voted for Trump in 2024. It's where Weiser's number is the smallest right now, but he's getting a double-digit number out of Jefferson. That's a huge one.
I mean, Wisner isn't great either,
margin,
but
as we say, out of Denver. Broomfield is small, but it continues the trend.
From what I understand, Wisner is not exactly like
an advantage.
diehard
Weld County, though, it's big, but it's
progressive
smaller
by
in
any
a Democratic primary than these Denver Metro ones, and the Bennett lead there is only
Phil Weiser
2
is not like
points.
a progressive, but it doesn't even
Pueblo
matter.
County,
It's just like,
now there, Bennett's getting a big. That's the first good news for Bennett all night. Now Pueblo it's significant, but it's about 3% statewide, right? We say Denver, where Weiser's up 30 points, is 20% of the vote statewide.
yeah, he's
Pueblo
barely
County,
better.
where Bennett's up
I think it's
27,
crazy that
is
it's like, yeah, one
3%
diehard
or
Bennett
so
fan here in
of the vote
Marshalltown. He's gonna be so
statewide
sad.
in this primary. Okay, take a look. We were taking you through the ski country counties, Steamboat Springs. Okay, again, I think you kind of would expect Bennett to be doing a little bit better in these. He is there, not in Eagle County, however. Okay, this is in one of Mesa County. This is the population center of the Western Slope, such as it is. Grand Junction is here, and again, look at that. Even there, Weiser with a 15-point advantage. So wow. Those are, if you're Weiser, you are loving what you're seeing. And if you're Bennett, holy cow, you didn't give up the Senate seat. But got into this race with the benefit of being a senator, supposedly the benefit. And these numbers are suggesting that Weiser was able to turn that around on him. What did that mean in the Senate primary with Jefferson County? Hickenlooper, 15-point advantage here, 57-42. What was the Hickenlooper number here in 2020, right? 60, down 2.5 points off his 2020 number. So it's very consistent with Hickenlooper. He won 59-41 in 2020. In most places we've checked in, he's down a couple points from that, right? And if you extrapolate that and that continues to be the trend, that would still have him, with a, 56, 57% of the vote statewide. We're not seeing anything in these numbers that's at odds with that. Mesa County, where Grand Junction is, right? There we go. Another, sizable place. 62, the Hickenlooper number in 2020, 59.5. Very, very steady pattern for him. What's left here that's sizable, like we say, we're waiting on. I mean, Adams is going to be big. Adams is going to be huge in that congressional race, right? Arapahoe County, again, these two combined,
right,
probably
chat.
a quarter of the vote statewide in this
we're gonna go on
Democratic
a
primary.
short
Going to
car
come out
ride.
of those two counties. We're waiting on El Paso County, where Colorado Springs is, in a Republican race statewide. I mean, that thing is just a monster when it comes to votes. And it's big in a Democratic primary, but especially in a Republican primary, it looms large. But those are and Boulder. We're waiting on Boulder. That's another sizable sort of piece of the puzzle here. Probably 10% of the vote is going to come out of Boulder. So Boulder, Adams, Arapahoe, El Paso, and then Larimer County. Those are the population centers we're waiting to see. Again, a lot of these big counties you're seeing on the Western Slope in the Eastern Plains of Colorado, you're talking about very low population, especially in a Democratic primary. Check on the Republican primary for governor here. Now, this is interesting. Barb Kirkmeyer is a state legislator who has sort of she nearly won a congressional seat in that 8th district, okay, a couple of years ago. Do we get an update?
Yeah, I have a note for you, and we also just got Arapahoe County.
Oh, okay, and we got communication here, okay. Okay, we got Arapahoe County, so we want to go back to that Senate race. Okay, and there's Hickenlooper, 2/3, 62-38. And what was the Hickenlooper number in 2020? It was 60. So he's 2 ahead of that. So Hickenlooper, that's probably the best piece of news Hickenlooper has on this map. We haven't seen him lose more than 3 points off that 2020 share in any of these counties, and he's actually a little up over, right now at least, over where he was in 2020 in Arapahoe County. So again, what that translates into statewide is an advantage of over 60,000 votes, about 16 points for Hickenlooper. Again, waiting on we've taken you through kind of what's outstanding there. What did that do to the governor's primary here? Take a look here. It is that Weiser color again. Weiser, 8-point advantage over Bennett. But I mean, look, if you're, we said,
Steve,
yeah.
I have another note for you as well.
Yes. Oh boy, they are coming in fast and furious here. Yes. The G throws. You know, folks, if I'm a little hesitant here, I'm trying to teach myself.
Steve, we just made a call in the Senate race.
That's what I was trying to find. There it is, folks, and I'm sorry I spoiled the moment for you. Adam was trying to tell me to hit the button, and I was having a little trouble with the button. NBC News officially projects that John Hickenlooper, first-term United States Senator, has been renominated. He wins the Democratic primary, defeating state legislator Julie Gonzalez. Hickenlooper will move on to the general election, where he will be the overwhelming favorite in a state that lopsidedly voted for Kamala Harris in 2024. Hickenlooper, by the way, had announced prior to this campaign that this would be it for him. He said he would intended to serve one more term, and then he would retire. The question was, would the voters of his party give him a chance to have another term? The answer to that is yes. Hickenlooper will hold off Julie Gonzalez, our decision desk says, and will win this primary. Again, we've shown you the reasons why. It is not an overwhelming victory for Hickenlooper here, but he was not suffering the kind of slippage from his prior performance that was going to endanger him tonight. He had won his primary in 2020, 59-41, and so far he is winning these counties generally by a few points less than he did in 2020. In terms of where the final margin, for this will land, one question will be, as we say, that late counted vote. Is it going to be progressive flavored? Is it going to be disproportionately young, college-educated, progressive, especially in Denver? That could boost Gonzalez's numbers some, but our decision desk is saying here that Hickenlooper's got himself a big enough pad through all the numbers we've been showing you where it's just not going to be there for Gonzalez. So Hickenlooper will be renominated, and again, will be the overwhelming favorite in November to hold the seat for Democrats. Again, will be interesting to see as this map fills out exactly what that final margin lands at. Gonzalez had been part of the Democratic Socialists of America until just before this campaign. She said she let her membership lapse, which was no longer a member, but she didn't move away from any of the positions she had previously taken. So really, this was a test here in a Democratic primary, a statewide Democratic primary. This was a test of how much appetite there was for a candidate, a Democratic Socialists of America candidate. That is essentially what Gonzalez was. Currently, she's running at 42% against Hickenlooper. And again, if you're measuring it versus 2020, if she's going to land here in the mid-40s, ultimately, that would not be surprising at all.